Wow, Riot started making actual video games instead of online multiplayer misery farms. They made that Ruined King game and I enjoyed that, despite turn-based being my least favorite type of game. And now, a League of Legends game made by the people that made Moonlighter, one of the best indie games I've ever played, and featuring my favorite League character, Sylas. I was going into this hard and balls deep. Is the game good? Yeah, it's no Moonlighter, but it's good. Premise. In the world of Runeterra, there is a nation called Demacia, and magic is pretty much illegal there, so mages are either imprisoned or recruited as Mageseekers. Sylas was a Mageseeker, but he tried to protect a woman and lost control of his powers. His power was too dangerous, so he got locked up tight for 15 years. Until Lux, a mage in hiding and a member of the Crown Guard noble family, decides to give Sylas a hug. When she hugs him, he steals her magical power and breaks out of prison. As a result of this, lots of other mages escape, and the king of Demacia gets killed, but not by Sylas. You don't know who killed the king, but everyone thinks Sylas did it. Now Sylas has escaped, he's the most wanted man in the kingdom, but he intends to free the mages and kill the Mageseekers. He doesn't have to do it alone, because he gets recruited by rogue mages who share his goals. Gameplay. How's he gonna kill all those Mageseekers? He's gonna use those cannons he calls arms. If I was that ripped, I would be shirtless all the time too. Light and heavy attacks that you can mix up to make a combo. The more unique combat mechanic here is the chains. You can use them to get close or use them to steal a spell, which you can only use once. But stealing a spell has a pretty low cooldown, and each enemy seems to have his own cooldown for the spell thievery, so you can spam that if you are up against a bunch of mages. You also have a spammable dodge, which does not have invincibility frames, so positioning is important. If there are invincibility frames, then it's not very generous. The spells you steal can be crafted into a permanent spell. You have 4 slots and a good amount of spells you can choose from. There's also element weaknesses to think about, like water is weak to fire and vice versa. So it's a good idea to have some variety in the elements of your spells. You can also have 2 followers that will boost the damage of an element and give you a new combo to use. And I think the wind one is bugged, because I never managed to do that combo. You make your followers stronger by recruiting more mages, and they will join your followers' team. And they will also improve the rebel hideout, where you get upgrades. Upgrading Sylas's health, damage, mana, and your potions. And even unlocking powerful ultimates a little later on. If you've played League of Legends, then these ultimates will be familiar to you. You use the ultimates during this Sylas Hulk mode, which is very strong. And that's pretty much it for the gameplay mechanics. Now for opinions. The game started pretty slow, and I was lukewarm on the game, but it grew on me, and started becoming more enjoyable the more I played. It felt shallow despite the spell thief mechanic, and I relied much more on my fists than spells, but later on in the game that changed and I started using spells a lot more. Mainly through stealing them, but I got a healing spell that I use consistently and it doesn't take too long to get the mana for it. And the combos that I managed to use are great and I love them. It's still pretty hard to find a reason to use the combos instead of just hit dodge or steal spell cast spell spam, but it's nice to have them. The enemy diversity is great, a lot of enemies to learn attacks from. Most of them just have one attack, but some have two, so they are a little on the simpler side, but a lot of them are just a platform for the spell thief mechanic to stand on. But they do force you to change up your strategy. It does sometimes feel like I'm playing a bullet hell game, and that's part of the challenge, and what keeps the game fun. And enemies do a lot of damage to you, so you gotta be quick with the dodges. The gameplay is a slow burn that gets better and better as you play. Story. Okay, here is where the disclaimer comes in. I am already invested in the story of Runeterra, from Arcane and from playing League of Legends when I was like 16 to 19 years old. Which is a decade ago now. Fuck, that kinda hurt to say. But if you are not a fan of League of Legends or the card game or Arcane, then I don't think the story will do as much for you as it will for me or a League fan. But I still think it's a good story if you come into it with no League knowledge. There are a few cutscenes with some voice acting, but for the most part it's all just text boxes. Not the best presentation, but there are some moments where it's complemented by some great 2D art. I like the characters in all the Runeterra stuff. They aren't as simple as he is the good dude and he is the bad dude. There's usually a little more to it, even if here it's pretty hard to find an argument that Sylas isn't 100% doing the right good thing, and that the Mageseekers aren't pieces of shit. There are characters that do shine with some complexity and interesting storytelling, where you see where they're coming from and why they are what they are. I liked the story and pretty much burned through the game to see how it would end. And I appreciate Sylas as a character more now, instead of just for his glorious sculpted physique. Conclusion. This game is a love letter to fans of the League universe, where they can enjoy Runeterra without needing to suffer through League of Legends. And I am really excited for more games from Riot Forge. So far I have enjoyed all their games, and I am really hoping for a game centered around Noxus soon. For League fans and fans of top-down action games, I recommend the game. Otherwise, I would recommend it at like $10. It's a good ride, but I don't think I would ever replay it. I give the game Sylas's abs out of Brahm's chest muscles. Subscribe, call me Uncle Brian, and have a good day.